welcome back everybody to our intermediate and advanced Civil 3D training series. Over the last 4 videos, we took a look at setting up alignments for a residential subdivision. We're going to be working on corridors today for our residential subdivision. So we set up our alignments, we set up some design grounds for our main road center lines with proper vertical curves. We created our assemblies and we looked at assemblies for our primary collector road and a residential road. And now we are finally at the point where we can start drawing our corridors, and then we're going to have to define the rest of our assemblies, or not our assemblies, our alignments and profiles to tie in our curb and gutters. So this is going to be, we're going to have three or four different corridors here. Depending on the size of the project, you could put them all in one corridor, but that corridor is going to become quite large and quite detailed, and you could have issues with it and trying to figure things out and get everything located properly. So we're going to do one main corridor for the road center lines. So our typical driving lanes, we're going to do one main corridor for all the roads, which includes our knuckles and our cul-de-sacs. And then we will do 3 separate corridors for our intersections, just to keep things a little bit separate and keep our heads on straight and try and not wind up confused. So I am going to go corridor, create corridor. We can finally make one. I'm going to call this our Taradale subdivision corridor. I had to think of a name there. Corridor style will be default. It's going to make a layer. I want it based on an alignment and a profile. Now we're going to be adding baselines and doing a lot of other work to this. So the pure old default one, I want 64th Avenue extension. And this is where we now start seeing the power of naming things. When I select my alignment, we only have the 3 so far, because the other 3 don't show up, our knuckles and cul-de-sacs, because we haven't defined a profile for them. So we have our 64th Avenue extension, our Taradale Place, and our Taradale Way, but I'm going to start off with 64th Avenue extension, and then I'm going to choose my 64th Avenue extension design so it follows that design line. My assembly, and we got a few of them. I am going to go and have to delete some of these here in a minute. So I want primary collector median, and then I'll go delete my other ones as soon as we make the corridor. Corridor template, I'm not going to bother with that. And target surface, we haven't set up any targets because at the end of the day, I'm going to grade off lots from my subdivision here. So I'm going to leave that set for none. I'm going to turn off the set baseline and region parameters. I just wanted to build the corridor, and I'm going to click OK. We'll give Civil 3D a minute to build it, and I'm going to save the drawing. And then delete all these additional assemblies on the left-hand side here that I had left over from a previous drawing. All right, those are deleted. I'm going to come and take a look at my corridor. Now, it's just a long straight corridor for my 64th Avenue. It's following the 64th Avenue extension. We can't see any surfaces yet because we haven't got them turned on. Now, there's a couple different ways of completing this next step, and I'm going to show you both ways. So I want to start breaking this corridor apart, specifically near my 2 intersections. So we can select the corridor, we can right click, and we can go modify region, split region. Civil 3D will ask us to select a region to split, so I want to split this whole piece, and it asks me where I want to split it. I'm going to click roughly near that first intersection. I'm going to give Civil 3D a minute to rebuild that, and as we see, a couple of grips showed up. So this grip allows me to move the split. This grip, these 2 grips, and this is going to be a little bit on the slow side, slow and laggy because you're trying to modify a corridor. These the 2 triangular grips will allow me to make that split larger. Now I'm going to end up coming and changing these at a later date in order to match up our roads properly. So select the corridor, right click split region. We can also select the corridor, right click corridor properties, and modify it with our station pickers. So my first section right here is from 0 to 154. My second section goes from 242 to 519. However, I want to click this little candy cane looking button, and I want to stop it roughly, we'll say roughly about 430, 428. And then I want to right click, insert region after. Civil 3 is going to pop up. It's going to ask me what assembly I want to use, primary, collector, median. And then I want to split it along that right hand as well. So I have my initial section, I got my middle section, and I got my right section. Now, if we hit apply and rebuild, it'll rebuild the corridor in the background. Keep in mind, the higher your frequency, the longer this is going to take to build. And if you have a slower computer, having a frequency of 1 meter might not necessarily be the best idea because it's going to be extremely slow. So far we've added our primary collector and we've split it at our 2 intersections. I'm going to do the same thing in corridor properties with my residential road. So I'm going to have all the main sections of my road in the same corridor. And in order to do that, again, back into corridor properties, select the right click corridor properties. Under the parameters tab, I want to add a baseline. My baseline is going to be residential road, and my alignment will be Taredale Way. I'm going to set up my vertical baseline to Taredale Way design. And then I'm going to right click and add a region on my residential road. I'm going to select residential street and hit OK. If I apply and rebuild, it is going to include this part in this corridor. Now I'm going to start off the bat by giving a little bit of a break, and I'll do that again. So my residential street, I want it to start about station 23, and I want the end station to be about station 547. Let's see if I can make these a little bit bigger so we can see things. However, when we're coming into build corridor pieces, and especially if we have knuckles, we actually need to define the end stations and start stations a little bit better. So this start station I'm going to leave as is because I don't know where my intersection is going to build yet. My end station, however, and I'm going to start preparing for the knuckle itself. My end station of my regular road cross section is going to be the end point at the south end of my knuckle. So if I just hit OK and rebuild so we can pop into model space here and check, if I select this, or even select this one here, my road end station, the regular road cross section, is going to end where that knuckle begins. So right here. I'm going to go back into corridor properties, and I'm going to insert region after. I want residential street, curb, and gutter on right side only. Because when we build it through the knuckle, so the start station will be here, the end station is going to be right here. Now, if I hit OK and rebuild, we'll see what's happening. So I've defined, here's my road center line. I have a regular road cross section to the start of my knuckle. I have my right side only through the knuckle. And then I'm going to do my regular cross section past the knuckle. So back into corridor properties, right click, insert region after. I want the residential street. And the end station is going to be roughly, we'll do it about 225. Then I'm going to insert a region after because we have an intersection here. I want residential street. My start station for that is going to be, we'll do it roughly 300. And then my end station for the normal road cross section is going to be at the start of this knuckle. Let's hit OK and rebuild to see what it looks like. So we have regular cross section, we have right side only, we have regular cross section, we have an intersection opening, we have our regular cross section. So back to corridor properties to define this knuckle. So right click, insert region after, residential street, right side only. Start station will be right here. End station will be at the end of this knuckle. And then lastly, to wrap this up, insert region after. We want residential street. And we want the end station to be roughly, for now, 540, give or take. So we are going to hit OK and rebuild. Once Civil 3D has rebuilt our corridor, now this is all again in the same corridor, we have our primary collector with splits for the intersections. We have our residential road with a split for the intersection, and we're utilizing the right side only pieces for around the knuckles. Now let's go ahead and make a surface out of this and then start taking a look at the surface itself. So I'm going to select my corridor, right click, and go corridor properties. I'm going to go under the surfaces tab. I'm going to create a new surface volume entry. I'm going to name it Taradale Subdivision Top. I'm going to leave it on the 0.5 and 0.1 style. And then lastly, we have to remember to add a top code or specify our code. So I just wanted to model the entire top. We can create a new surface for Taradale Subdivision and we'll call it Taradale Subbase, Taradale Subdivision Subbase, and then I'll add the subbase to that as well. So we could figure out volumes of materials for our road itself. Now if we hit OK, our surfaces should show up. Now I'm going to have two of them because I have one for my subbase, and I'll just quickly freeze that right now. And we have one for our road top. Now, if we take a look at this in Object Viewer, it's not going to look very pretty yet because we haven't included all our other pieces. Now, keep in mind, this is 10 times exaggerated. So we can see here where our initial primary collector is, the intersection, the middle of our primary collector, intersection, the end of the primary collector, and then the internal residential road pieces where we have it defined. Lastly, let's add the road going down into our cul-de-sac. So I'm going to select my corridor, right-click corridor properties. Under the parameters tab, I'm going to add another baseline. I'm going to call it the cul-de-sac road. It's going to take my Taradale Place. I'm going to select a vertical baseline of Taradale Place design. Hit OK. And then right-click, add a region. It will be using residential street. I'll hit OK. And then I'm going to modify the start station and end station. So the start station will be roughly, we'll make it start about 40. Again, we're going to have to modify all these afterwards. And my end station will be at the end of this cul-de-sac alignment. Okay, that didn't work. We can try it again. And it completely disappeared. Okay, we're going to cancel that and try it again. Add a baseline. Teardale Place. I've never seen that bug happen before where it removes stuff from this corridor properties window. So before we go and modifying the start and the end station, we'll just hit apply and rebuild to build it now. Okay, it seems to work now. I'm going to do the start station around 40 again. Apply and rebuild. And then we'll try setting the end station up. And this is where it all messed up last time. And it doesn't look like it did that now. Apply and rebuild. And we'll have Civil 3D rebuild that. So I'm going to go ahead and save my drawing. And in the next video, we are going to take a look at our knuckles and our cul-de-sac. So we're going to have to define profiles and pull elevations for those. And then in the video after that, we will concentrate on our intersections.